Hi, everybody. I want to go over the final project information. It will be twofold so that the video will not be too long. The first part is right there under information. And so I'm just going to basically go through this and maybe do a little explaining as I go along. And then I will go through the capstone final project that is attached. Okay, the capstone seminar or practicum is a culmination of everything that defines the baccalaureate nursing students' ability to participate in healthcare. This goes and shows all that you have learned that makes you that bachelor's nurse, that BSN. So this course will integrate concepts that you have learned throughout your BSN experience. This is an important thing to realize. This is new. This is how most capstones are done. And so I will show you how you will incorporate, let's say, trends and issues. Of course, obviously, your evidence-based courses will be incorporated. Nurse as a profession, pathophysiology. You'll be able to introduce concepts that you learn. Now, you don't have to introduce a lot of concepts. One or two is fine. But just so that when accreditation comes around, we can show them that we are teaching you what we're saying that we're teaching you. So the purpose of this experiential learning is to give each student the opportunity to integrate knowledge from previous coursework while developing an evidence-based project. You will look for something that you need. You'll look for a need in the community. The community can be your little community. It can be your work unit. It can be your hospital. It can be your church. It can be anything that brings people together. So don't think of, wow, I've got to go out and do windshield surveys or anything like that. That's not what this is about. And I will tell you some of the types of things that students have done in the past. Make it really easy. Most of you have already decided what you want to write on, and I've approved it. So you pretty much know what this is about. The plan is to address the identified problem, develop a thorough assessment, use critical thinking, and prioritization. These processes are practiced through collaboration with course faculty, that is me, and an individual community healthcare leader, such as a charge nurse, a nurse manager. Let's say you're doing something, you're going to do blood pressure and cholesterol checks at your church. Then you would maybe have one of the ministers. A lot of churches have mental health people, so you could ask for one of them to kind of just basically sign off on it, so to speak. The goal of the course is that each student's project will have a positive impact on the overall knowledge and or wellness of his or her chosen community. This project consists of a paper and a very small presentation, which will be a PowerPoint, a Prezi, or one of those little poster pamphlets that you can do on Word. And it's really something like that shouldn't take you more than 30, 45 minutes to put together right off of your paper. The more fanciness it has on it, such as little art things, the more exciting it is. But you would be using this little pamphlet or this PowerPoint to do your presentation. I have given you examples, so you will see an example of pamphlets and you will see an example of a PowerPoint. So the steps at the top of the project, obviously topic selection. You can use a hypothesis, you can use a PICO. A lot of that is dependent on what kind of question you're asking. So you'll have an introduction, you'll have your PICO, your hypothesis, you will have obviously your proposal, which is done, your literature review, Your literature review, let's talk about for just a moment, is not a compare contrast of different articles. Your literature review is very simple, and it is along the lines of Vice Library using databases such as ProQuest, EBSCOhost, mental health databases, and it's much less intense than what I think some of y'all might be worried about, because of course the book is showing literature reviews that you'd be doing for a thesis or a dissertation. Our literature review is where you're going to review the literature, do your little annotated bibliographies. You've done a few of those. You have to have at least 10 to 15 articles, research-based articles, but not 10 or 15 annotated bibs. And you will get information from each one of those, and you'll just, your literature review is basically where you went to get that information, Google Scholar, such as that. It's not a compare contrast of the literature review. You're just looking for the literature to support your idea. Remember, this whole thing is about having an idea, putting it together, showing that you can support this idea, and going out and testing the market, so to speak. So then you have the synthesis of evidence. Now, remember that if you do qualitative type of articles or predominant qualitative type articles, you're going to have common themes, versus if you're doing predominantly quantitative articles where you're going to have more of the methods. And then you'll have the evidence-based strategies. Now, this is not for you to figure out how you're going to have the common themes or the methodologies. This is taking it from your literature, and so Somerville 2017 stated that 32 out of 64 people, participants, found whiteboards to be deficient in engaging them in their healthcare. I've just brought that off the top of my head, versus themes where you'd have maybe whiteboards that medications weren't being listed right, whiteboards that nurses use, whiteboards versus CNAs using, let's say, physician reaction to whiteboards, more of along the lines of themes. And then evidence-based strategies, that's what you're going to find in your synthesis of the literature. Strategies that you're going to use to go out and make this subject usable for your people. So an example would be that whiteboards are cleaned and rewritten at every shift or every 12 hours, or the charge nurse goes to every room and updates the whiteboard. Nurses and techs will be evaluated monthly on whiteboards. And so that there's evidence-based strategies on how we could keep whiteboards current. Now, this is obviously, I had some whiteboard issues with my dissertation, and that's why I keep going to whiteboards. The results is basically what your literature found. So what my literature found was whiteboards are not kept current. This is not, a page or 2 pages. This is just a few sentences that you have garnished from your literature review. And does it match what you thought your results would be? Implications. What are the implications of your review of your project? Well, in my project, the implications are, of course, patient safety. So there again, we're not talking pages, we're talking sentences, 3, 5, 7 sentences. Recommendations. Those recommendations you're probably going to find in your literature review, because they would be supporting your idea of recommendations. Nice little conclusion, wrapping it all up, and of course your APA references, of which you must know how to do websites properly. I noticed that a lot of you guys are just writing down the website, you're just taking off the web address, and websites are done just the way that a journal is done. You have to find the author if it has an author. You know, if it's the American Nurses Association, that you put first. It's not just the website and the email or the web address. So your literature, I mean, your whole paper is not that complicated. We're not looking for masses of information. We're looking for you to know how to do an educational presentation in a community, whether it be your nursing unit, your church, your community of some sort, the why. So some of the interesting ones that we've had recently, we had one student who did an educational seminar and actually put this in place for kidney transplant patients who were waiting for their transplant, and it was about what they needed to do to prepare. So it was not a real big one. I mean, it's like what you need to do to prepare in the month before you get that transplant. It was talked about diet changes and things. We had one that was a new way of teaching babies to latch for breastfeeding. Very interesting one. We've had, quite a number. Some of them like to go to the OR and deal with things that are happening in the OR. Others like to go to their flight nursing and things that are happening with their flight nursing. But don't think of this as a huge paper that's 20, 30. It's just about 10 pages long from beginning to end. And so if you need any help, please let me know. Now, organization and good time management skills are important. One of the things that I have done in this course, which was not done before, is I'm making you write sections so that I can go over them, make some corrections, and that you can turn in your final project completely corrected. That's very important to do. The evaluating of the learning, the previous course learning is important. So I've got some examples here. So an example is you're writing about something and you go, in Nursing 325, Introduction to Nursing Research. So you want to use the number and the course name. The literature review began with annotated bibliographies, because you guys did not get to do this. I have been rewriting these courses and I'm introducing, but in 325, the students that are coming behind you will have done annotated bibliographies. Trends and issues, Nursing 400 gave rise to the proposal for horizontal violence, because horizontal violence or bullying is a major issue in nursing. And unfortunately, just by the by, there are a lot of people who do not want to face this fact. And they're saying, well, we're just using that word too much. I will tell you that our hospitals in Fort Wayne are making nurses go to self-defense courses, because nurses have been accosted so much in the hospitals over the past 2 years. So another example is the cost of hiring new nurses and putting them through an orientation process was studied in Nursing 426, Leadership and Management. So you will write an approximate 10-page paper on your chosen topic. You will submit it, and then you will do your little presentation summarizing your main ideas. So this is the important things. I want you to know that you can always let your teacher know and ask for help, and we want you to succeed in this. So I will go on and do the capstone final project next. Thank you.